Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. It is so nice to see you all since Passover. DJ Wildstyle, thank you for that amazing set.
Hello, thank you. Yes, I was smiling the whole time. That music and this message is really close to my heart. So I can't help but be overjoyed to share it with you guys.
So, you said this set is close to your heart. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, obviously, both sides of my family are quote unquote immigrants. I mean, definitely my mom's side who came from Europe, and then my dad's side who were Chicanos, which means Mexican American. And my grandma actually came here, so I'm third generation. She is one of the strongest people you will ever know. Like for real, the amount of work she's done. It's a trabajadora in Spanish. You guys can all learn that word with me, which means a hardworking person. But she came here and she raised my dad and my tío and my tía here. And it's just really close to my heart also because even today, just living as myself, there is a lot of stigma around, how my family got here. And I think one of the reasons I chose one of these songs, Somos Más Americanos, means we are more American. And it says, Estoy una extranjera en mi tierra. So I'm from California, which used to be even a part of Mexico before it was a part of the United States. And that lyric means I feel like an outsider, an alien in my own home. And so even today living as just a Chicana in America, not only do I carry, the strength that my grandma showed to come here and all the hard work she put in my blood, in my sangre, but I also carry with me, the legacy of stereotypes and trauma and violence against my community and being labeled as quote unquote immigrants. And like it says in one of the songs, why is it that in America, a country founded by people who came here, who came here and undocumented and just started building, why is that now that immigrants are seen as like a controversial topic, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there is a legacy with like stereotypes and that everyone has to live with. But if there's one message I can leave y'all with, it's I belong here. My family belongs here. My community belongs here. No matter how we got here, we're hardworking people who built this country, who continue to be the backbone of so many necessary parts of how we live today. And so that's what I'll leave y'all with.
Well, I can really see that you put your heart and soul into that playlist. When you identify yourself, how do you identify yourself? Like when you
Chicana,
Chicana?
yeah, or Chicano, Chicanx, you know. Chicanx would be the gender neutral term that's all inclusive. Chicana is the female term, but it was a word that was originally used, if I'm correct. And honestly, my tia and my grandma would explain this way better. But it was originally a word that was used as sort of a slur or a bad word towards Mexican American people from, I think, Mexican people, and
Mhm.
then it was reclaimed and it's become a part of culture that's really important. So you'll go to Chicano Park. There's all types of Chicano art and music, and there's Chicano language. It's really a great big community that's formed from Mexican Americans, uh, which is it's just amazing. And there's like so much culture. I could go on, but
You
my
call
family's always been big about art and everything.
do you call yourself a Jewish Chicano uh, American? Your mom says you're a jalapeno bagel. How do you describe yourself in
I would
terms
definitely say
of
a
your
jalapeno bagel. If you guys haven't ever read that book or seen that, you should. Jalapeno bagel is like the mix between Jewish and Mexican. So that's definitely how I would identify, or as a Jewish Chicana, you know.
So unless you have ancestors who are Native American, then everybody here came from another country. So everybody is descendants from immigrants who came to this country. And so it's really interesting as we are learning about this topic. Um, I think about the concept of I've got mine, good luck getting yours. Like I'm in the country, so now good luck getting into the country yourself. I've got what I need. Good luck with you and what you need. Uh,
Mm,
Go ahead.
Nothing. I would just say I agree, and also that I've got mine, and so now you have to find yours. There's definitely a culture of two. Well, I am higher than you, and so in order to feel empowered, I'm going to push you down. And also, if we talk about the embedded white supremacy within America, you can look at like how difficult it's been made with the whole ideology of I have mine, now you've gotten yours, and lay on top of that, the intersectionality of people who've immigrated from countries and they aren't white or English isn't their first language, and the white excellence ideology that's been placed on them while everybody's just trying to get theirs. And
Yeah.
I think that it's important also to recognize that in when we talk about immigration is that being, you know, coming to America and working and succeeding isn't the same for everybody. We don't all start at the same place because of, embedded systems of racism and colorism and xenophobia that we'll find in our immigration policies.
Um, yeah, and a real sadness today for the Sikh community in our country and also the Asian American community that's being targeted by white supremacists. So the fear and the hatred is like when people talk to me. I was talking to a person at a party the other day, and he said it's so loud in this country. Everybody's protesting, and it's just so loud. And I said, oh, I know how to end the loudness. And he was so excited to hear my answer. Oh, how do we end this loudness? I said, oh, we need more love, more kindness, more compassion. People want to be accepted for who they are. And people want to feel that they have every opportunity that everybody else has. We could do that. We can make it less loud in this country. We are having a cooking show today. So if you didn't get the ingredients yet, it might not be too late. You need 1 small onion, a jalapeno pepper or serrano pepper, lime juice, fine sea salt, 1.5 pounds of tomatoes and cilantro. So I would just, if you haven't gotten your stuff yet, we have a special guest who's going to be teaching us a cooking class today. DJ Wildstyle's playlists are on Spotify if you want to find them. We're going to play a game show right now, and we need 2 or 3 contestants, and you have to, it's Google Maps meets Tasty, which is identify the food with the culture. It's a culture food match. Who wants to play? Unmute yourself. Are you allowed to unmute yourself? We have 3 people. Paige is in 2. Hi, tell us your name.
Evan.
Evan, where are you from?
I am from Los Angeles.
Welcome. And Jacob.
Thank you.
Where are you from?
Reseda, Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. And Paige, where are you from?
California.
Also California. All right, we're going to play a game. It's called the Food Culture Match Game.
Welcome to the Food Culture Match Game Show. Our contestants will be matching the food with the culture with the food. Get ready to play.
Well, that was just amazing. I'm so excited for that intro. Okay, here we go. I'm going to show you a food, and you have to tell me which culture it's from, okay? We're going to start off easy. This dish from this country, origin consists of a flat, round base of dough baked with the toppings of tomato sauce and cheese. Paige, your hand was up. Oh, wait, we need a buzzer sound. What's your buzzer sound?
What?
That's good. Jacob, what's your buzzer sound? Okay, I like that. And what's your buzzer sound? I love it. Okay. Paige, I saw your buzzer sound go up first. What country is this, or country is this from?
Italian.
Italian, amazing, good job. All right, ready for the next one? They're starting off easy. They're gonna get harder. You can buzz in at any time. Oh, I already got a buzz. Mapu tofu. What is it?
Japanese.
Japanese. Japanese. That is incorrect. Japanese is incorrect. But I will keep reading. Maybe take a look at this dish, mapo tofu. The answer is on the one side of your screen. On one account indicates this dish existed as early as 1254 in a suburb of Chengdu, the capital of the Sichuan province.
Oh.
Another buzz in. I love it. Yes.
Chinese.
Chinese, from the Chinese culture. That is correct. Nice job. All right, ready for the next one. Miso ramen. Oh, Evan.
Culture, I believe.
Japanese culture. That's correct. Japanese culture is correct. Here we go for the next one. Dal khichdi. Oh, Paige, go ahead.
I think it's Filipino.
That is a good guess, but that is not correct. Listen to the description. This is a dish in South Asia. It's made of rice and lentils. In this culture, it's made in several regions, especially in the northern areas. It is considered one of the first solid foods that a baby eats. Hindus will eat it because when they fast, they avoid eating rice. Oh, I heard that. Jacob, what was that?
It's Indian.
Nice job. It is Indian. Okay, we have time. I think we have time for one more. Caldereta. It is goat meat stew from this culture. There's many. Oh, Jacob again.
Bangladesh.
Is Bangladesh correct? Bangladesh is correct. Yes.
I'm going to say Ethiopian.
No, it is not. Paige, did you Google? What do you think?
I think it's if I were to guess, I think it's British.
That is incorrect. The answer is Filipino, but you all did a great job. Everyone give them a round of applause. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being contestants on our Match the Food with the Culture and the Culture with the Food game show. The reason we did that is because we get so many gifts from the immigrant community in our country, including ourselves who are immigrants. One gift is DJ Wildstyle. We got that gift from the immigrant community, but so many foods that we love and maybe even take for granted. And so I wanted to share a little bit about that. In the restaurant industry, actually, 10% of the workers in restaurants are undocumented. That means that they don't have papers to be in this country. And in large cities, as much as 40% of people who work in restaurants are undocumented. So just in the restaurant industry itself, I'm trying to communicate that our country's economic system is based on us having immigrants coming and working in this country. And if you see that last statistic, 50 to 75% of farm workers are undocumented. So our country is happy to welcome undocumented people to our country to work in our country and be essential workers, which we all learned about during COVID, but is not willing to give them the rights and the things that they need to live happily in our country. That doesn't seem fair to me. I want to talk a little bit about some terms before we invite our next guest. I want to define the difference between an immigrant. An immigrant is a person who leaves one country to settle in a new country, and that might be you or your parents or your grandparents or great-grandparents. A refugee is someone who's forced to leave their country, which is different than someone who's choosing to leave their country. They're escaping war, persecution, natural disaster, economic disaster. And an asylum seeker is someone who comes to this country and asks for protection because they are so scared. Right now, there are 18,000 children at the border in our country. And if you think about if your parent or a parent is willing to send a child alone, an 8-year-old, an 11-year-old alone, hundreds of miles by themselves, what they're escaping must be so awful. And now we have to ask ourselves, what is our obligation as a country to support these people who are in need? Because our country was founded on these things. This is, in terms of refugees, the president decides how many get to come in this country. So if you look at this chart, you can see back in the 1980s, it's 20,000. And right now with President Biden, it's 15,000. And he made a campaign promise that he was going to allow over 50,000 refugees to come into this country. And he just recently said he's only going to allow 15,000 to come in this country. And here's a breakdown of the countries. He said, from Africa, I'll allow 7,000 refugees. From East Asia, I'll allow 1,000. And the president just gets to make up this number. And so this is really what we learned to be a political battle. And people stop caring about the humans and care about the politics and getting more votes. And I just recently learned this term from my brother-in-law, who said this is what they call a wicked problem. I had never heard this term before, but wicked problem means there's no great solution to this problem. There isn't a right and wrong answer. There's just a better and worse answer. But if you feel that 15,000 refugees is too low, what can you do about it? You can call your congressman. You can email your congressman. You can have your parent get involved as well. You actually have power to help make this change. Tell them that you care about this issue. We're going to do a quick level up and learn a little bit about what Judaism has to say about this issue before meeting our first guest. Let's level up. This is from the prophet Isaiah, who says, learn to do good, devote yourself to justice, aid the wronged, uphold the rights of the orphan, and defend the cause of the widow. In Judaism, we talk about how there are vulnerable populations, and it is our obligation to help these populations who are vulnerable. The orphan, that's someone without parents. The widow, the someone without a husband. And the stranger, someone new to a town who doesn't have the resources and the network to get by and survive. We as Jews have an obligation to help those vulnerable populations. And that's why immigration justice is such an important issue. And we as Jews know, because we fled from Nazi Germany. We fled from Russia from pogroms. We fled from persecution in Iraq. We know what it's like to flee and need safe harbor. Speaking of safe harbor, we all know about the poem and the Statue of Liberty written by a Jewish woman, Emma Lazarus. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Our country is based on being a safe harbor. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. She loves dance. She loves baking challah. She is a 10th grader from De Toledo High School, and she is an amazing individual. Please welcome Eliana Chasen.
Oh my gosh, quite an introduction. Hi.
Hi, Eliana. Thank you for being here.
I'm so excited to be here with Aesthetic America. Love it.
Tell us a little bit about, well, yourself in terms of, you're really passionate about the issue of immigration and immigration reform and immigration justice, and tell me how that got kickstarted.
Okay, yeah. So about a year and a half ago, I went on an immigration trip to the Mexican border in Arizona with Aesthetic America. It's just kind of like a small group of teens from my temple and then some teens from other temples that went on the trip. And then while in Arizona, we met with tons of different perspectives and experiences of the immigration issue at that border. So we met with a DACA recipient, an ICE agent, a border patrol agent at the actual wall, and then we volunteered with different shelters and organizations. One of the most important things that stood out to me was that near the end of our trip, we met Rocio Calderon, and we volunteered with her recently founded organization, Casa Mariposa. And Casa Mariposa basically writes letters to immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers that are all in detention centers, and then also gives donations to those people to help them buy necessities like phone cards, food, hand sanitizer. And basically on that trip, it basically just kind of opened my eyes to a whole world of people that are involved in and suffering from the immigration issue in America. So I came home with all this new knowledge. I was like going up to my parents and like showing them the booklet that like Sedec America had gave me with all the people that we had met. And I had all these new names in my head. I had seen all these new places. And I knew that these people who were suffering from this issue didn't just go away. And I felt like I just had to do something about it.
And what do you think about this issue really struck you?
I think
There's so many issues out there that people, I talk to teenagers. I say you can care about every social justice issue, but you don't have the capacity to do something about every issue. So why this issue?
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty always, and so has my family, kind of been pretty passionate about a lot of social justice issues. So I think with this one in particular, I think America has had immigration issues for a while now. And when that trip was happening, I was kind of getting to the age where I was becoming more aware of it. I feel like everyone's seen the like horrifying pictures and videos of what detention centers look like on the news or TV. So initially that had sparked my interest. And then after going on the trip and diving deeper into that topic, I just kind of had a gut feeling that I wanted to do something with what I had learned. I think kind of how we were talking about a bit earlier, everyone comes from immigrants in some way, especially in America. So to see a country that was and continues to be built off the backs of immigrants, treat immigrants this way, and have as messed up of an immigration process as they have right now was just kind of sickening. And then personally, coming from immigrants, I just felt attached to the issue. So just in general, I just kind of felt responsible for do something after learning what I learned.
I think that sense of responsibility that's a calling that many of us get towards different issues. And your calling right now is immigration justice. And so tell us what you did with this calling.
Okay, so in the beginning of this school year, my school newly established this service learning board called TOVE, where it's basically students can partner with organizations and create programs that they can bring to the school that then other students can volunteer with, and then earn like community like service learning hours. So I joined that kind of with the idea in my head that I wanted to do something immigration related. And I kept the booklet that I got from Sedec America, and I kept like the little paper that I got about Casa Mariposa so that I could do something with it. And then I got in touch with Rocio Calderon's organization, Casa Mariposa, to partner in writing letters, because that's kind of what I thought would be good for kind of Zoom learning and to get students like involved. And then also I reached out to Sedec America, and they were able to get me in contact with one of the speakers that we had met in Arizona. His name is Rabbi Shmuley, so that I could have him as a speaker at my own program, which was really special. And so then after some like online flyer advertising and a pretty amateur Google form, I got about 20 students to sign up for my school's first ever detention center care letter writing program. And at that, Shmuley spoke about Judaism, social justice relationship to immigration, kind of like how we'll do here. And then I led the students in writing the letters afterwards. And like, to be completely honest, it was my first time leading anything. So I was really, really nervous, but I think getting like the energy back from students like made me feel kind of inspired. And I'm really proud to say that we sent more than 170 letters to and then to the Aloy Detention Center in Nogales, Arizona. And
there's over 250 detention centers in the United States, most of them privately run. And if you go to them, they look like prisons and they feel like prisons. They're not a warm, welcoming experience.
We weren't even allowed when we went. I don't think we were allowed to go in when we went to Arizona. We were only allowed to go to a shelter to help people who had been released. Anyway, so I want to continue with the program next year, or just however long I stay on I can basically. And hopefully with like COVID getting better, I can host actual in-person letter writing events. And kind of like Sedec America did for me, in my group on the Arizona trip, I want to bring in a variety of speakers with a variety of perspectives and knowledge, so that my community and my school can be better informed about this issue.
Amazing. Education is so important as a step to take when it comes to solving a problem and telling the story. So many people just don't know the story. We have a lot of teenagers watching today from all over the country, and they see you and they say, well, she's a rock star. I don't know if I'm a rock star. And you're shaking your head no and say, I'm not a rock star. So like, what advice do you have for these teenagers?
Okay, I would say I'm not a very like confrontational person. I'm not the biggest like public speaker or anything. So I was really intimidated to like reach out to adults and to organizations that just seemed so like high and mighty to me. But after doing so, after just kind of like taking that step, I like realized there's a lot of support behind that, and that it's a lot easier than you think it is, and it's a lot less scary than you think it is. I think like my main takeaway from that was that like every issue or any topic that you're interested in and that you want to get involved in, the people in that issue want you to get involved in that too. There's no real reason to be scared of reaching out, because everybody just wants to help. Everybody just wants as many people to get involved as possible. And so if you have that sort of like calling, you could say, that I had with this certain issue, and you feel like you want to get engaged in something and you want to get involved about something, you want to involve your community in something, to just kind of take that step, no matter like how scary it is, because in the end it will pay off, and every person in that issue will support you in doing so.
Eliana, thank you so much for joining us today. You are a rock star.
Thank
I
you.
think so. The crowd thinks so. They're applauding.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great program you have going on here, and I'm just so excited. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Say hi to your parents for me. Take
Of
care.
course. Bye.
Right. Here's just a photo of all the letters that they wrote that they're going to send to the detention center and her Zoom class that she led. And now we're moving on to our cooking class, which I'm super excited about, because we get to learn from Grandma Wildstyle, but we're going to call her Grandma Tessa, and it is DJ Wildstyle's grandma who's going to tell us a little bit about her story and teach us how to make Pico de Gallo. Welcome, Grandma Tessa.
Yeah, you can talk now.
Thank you for joining us today. We're so excited to have you here. I know we're just about to get started to cook with you, but I wanted to hear a little bit about where you're from, where were you born, and where you came over to the United States. I know you came over to the United States from Mexico, but I don't know where in Mexico. And tell us when you came over. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon. I'm from Mexico, the state of Durango. I was born in the mountains of Durango. When I was 8 years old, my parents moved to Mexicali. And from there, I grew up until I was 21. And I came to the United States at 21.
How did you come over?
Under the border in the fence from Tijuana, I had the need to go and find a better way to have a better way of life. The oppression in Mexico for women was really stressful for me. So I needed to find a better way to develop my brain, I guess, or study something or become someone very important or do something important.
So when you lived in Mexico, you knew you were interested in studying, being a nurse?
Yes.
And then you told your father that, and he said?
My father said, no, you cannot go anywhere else to study, because any woman that goes and leaves their home, they become prostitutes. And that was in the 50s, 60s, and it was very sad for me because my intention was study, go to school, become somebody. And he didn't let me. he said, no, women belong in the kitchen, barefooted, and learn how to be a good wife, learn how to cook, learn how to clean up so you can have children and become a wife. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, I hear that. And so you came across and you paid a coyote to help you come across?
Well, I paid a coyote because I wanted him to cross me all the way to Los Angeles, but he says, you don't have enough money. I'll cross you under the line, the fence in Tijuana, and from then on, you're on your own. So that's what happened. So I crossed the border, and then I got in a bus, and I came to, I crossed the border in San Isidro, very scared, very scared. And then I got in a Greyhound, and I went all the way to Los Angeles, and then from there on, I struggled.
And what were some of your first jobs when you came to the United States?
My first job was working with a sewing company named Catalina. They give me a chance to because I learned a lot of things in Mexico. I learned how to sew in industrial machines. So I was sewing parts of bathing suits. And then I was a nurse in Mexico. I was an LVN, but because I didn't speak English, I couldn't rehearse or practice my career.
Right.
So I had to clean homes.
So you were sewing, you were cleaning homes. You had the skills to be a nurse, but you didn't have the English.
Yes.
Put that together. Yes. And did you experience any discrimination or racism?
Absolutely, absolutely. Being a woman, being a colored woman, that was one. The idea of having a woman having a career of my color in my class was not visible, was not acceptable, I guess. Right. So, because I also didn't speak the language fluently, I couldn't practice my nursing career. So I cleaned homes.
Wow. And I remember you said there was a Jewish doctor that was supportive of you along your journey. Will you tell us a little bit about
I love that doctor. I will never forget his name. His name was, or he still is, I don't know, Ben Gelfand. He's Jewish. And he told me, Teresa, you're having a child every year. You don't have to. And then I look at him like weird, and I said, really? And he says, no, and you don't need your husband's permission to do whatever you want with your person. It's your body, it's your decision. And he says, do you want birth control? I said, yes. And so he opened my eyes, and I said, I'm my own person. I can make my own decisions. I never heard of that in my country. And I said, oh, yes. What do I do with this freedom? What do I do with that? I didn't know what to do with it.
Amazing.
It was goosebumps all over my body.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this story and being vulnerable with us and telling us about a hard experience in your life. Obviously, you're an extremely strong woman and a beautiful person. And we can see that as that has been passed down from generation to generation. And we're so grateful of your gift.
I hope I do.
So shall we do a little cooking? And while we're cooking, if you all are cooking along, that's amazing. We'd love for you to turn your camera on if you're cooking along. And this is also an opportunity to ask Grandma Tessa any questions you would like. And so we could ask while she's cooking as well. You can come on and ask her or private chat me, and I don't have to use your name if you want to ask any questions. But why don't we take me off screen and then just have the cooking cam and Grandma Tessa teach us a little bit about how to make pico de gallo.
So I have here, I cut some tomatoes already, and I'm gonna finish cutting them some more. They're cut in squares, and you wash them, and you cut them in pieces, so there will be small pieces for people to bite on it, and it's really delicious. Pico de gallo is not a hot dish. It's a flavored dish. It's like you put it on tacos, you put it on tostadas, you put it on anything you want. Yeah, I'm gonna cut the onion, and if you wear glasses, you're not gonna get the cry knife. Yeah, you cut the onions.
Is there a special way you cut the onions?
You have to cut them long, short ways, and then the way so you can like almost mince it, but it's not minced yet. So once you cut it, then you put it in with a tomato, and it's gonna give it the flavor that we need, a strong flavor. It is, I hope it doesn't take a long time. And we cut some cilantro, small pieces.
You should tell them that you can use pico de gallo as for huevos rancheros.
You can use pico de gallo for huevos rancheros. You just fry it, and that you put it over the fried eggs, and that's huevos rancheros.
So if I make fried eggs and I just put pico de gallo on it, I've made a dish called huevos rancheros. That's it.
Yeah, after the fried it, yes.
One of the reasons we brought in cooking into this webinar is that food is obviously a gift that many immigrants bring to this country that we get to benefit from. Also, the restaurant and hospitality industry are two major industries that are easier for first generation people to get jobs in. And as I was reading earlier about the statistics of undocumented peoples in the restaurant business, there are 11 million undocumented people in this country right now. And in the 2020 census, they were not included. So you have 11 million people that weren't included in the census. And the census decides where money goes and which neighborhood gets which resources. So it's really, this country welcomes undocumented people, but then does nothing to care for them. And that's evidenced by what happened in the 2020 census. When did you get your papers to be a citizen, Grandma Tessa?
What? I didn't hear that.
When did you get your papers to be a citizen?
I got my papers in 2000. I was undocumented for many papers, many years. I got them in 2000. And I came here on June of 1966.
Do you feel like you lived every day afraid of getting caught?
Were you afraid of getting caught? Tell me when you got caught.
Yes, I was afraid of getting caught. One time I crossed so I can visit my parents, and I got caught. And they sent me back. And my kids were with you. Huh? Your kids were with you. My kids were with me. And so they didn't want to come back by themselves. So we crossed another border. And by then I was able to speak some English and was able to cross. And then I said, no, I better not go back until I really know how to speak English or get documented. It was very scary.
Some stories about people what happened.
Huh?
Grandma Tessa's daughter is in the kitchen with her, helping us navigate the technology. So I really appreciate that. So back to the Pico de Gallo. I saw you squeezing some lime in there. How much lime do you squeeze in?
I cut some limes. I cut jalapeno, onions, and tomato and cilantro. Now we're gonna put a little bit of salt.
How many lines?
Two limes. And a little bit of salt.
That looks like a lot of salt.
No, a little bit, not a lot. It's a lot of tomatoes and a lot of onions, cilantro, and then it's ready.
Do you take the seeds out of the jalapenos or do you leave them all in?
If you want it a little hot, you leave the seeds in there and the veins. But if you don't want it hot at all, you take out the seeds and the veins. We are used to hot chili, so we leave the seeds on it.
Definitely spice is a cultural thing. It's interesting to see the different cultures and their spicy foods. I'm in the weak category of culture. It has very weak taste buds. I look at hot sauce and I run away.
I'm gonna give this to my daughter so she can taste it.
All right,
Okay, let's see how she did.
This is my son, Marcos.
Hi, Marcos. If you could
Very
send us your address, we'd all like to come over and have some pico de gallo.
Yes, come over.
That would be amazing. So I know a lot of you have people in your circles who come from different countries, maybe first generation immigrants, maybe they help clean your homes and maybe they help you garden, or maybe you visit their restaurants. So what questions might you ask first generation immigrants that you are afraid to ask, but here's an opportunity to ask? How can you bring yourself closer to the situation? What's your take on the current immigration situation now? And there's 18,000 children at the border fleeing from their homes. What are your thoughts on that?
Very unhumane, very unhumane. It hurts my heart to see those parents taking away their children. I cry at times. I remember me fearing that somebody will take my children away because I was undocumented. It's a really stressful feeling for almost every day once you're not documented. It's a fear for every day.
It's living with trauma every day.
Living with trauma every day, and then you don't want to go through that.
And Avram, can I quickly add on to something?
Add on, it's your grandmother.
So first, I know my abuela Tessa, she makes the best pico de gallo. I can't even taste it, but I already know it's delicious. Second thing I want to say, I don't know if you meant it like this, but I do want to add on that first generation people can also be doctors and lawyers and business associates and CEOs. They don't just have to be, gardeners or work at restaurants or clean their houses. But while all of those jobs are all so strong and brave to have, and all of them are equally, and even I would argue, farm workers and stuff are more important because they supply our food. But I would like to acknowledge that first generation peoples can also have jobs that aren't that
Absolutely. And even Congress people, as we see in our Congress. So yes.
But I was assuming good intentions, that you didn't mean it like that. And thirdly, I think that, just speaking from a perspective of a third generation American, another way that you guys could support even people in this country is by doing things for, the Latino community, the Chicano community. Like there was that 13-year-old boy the other day who got shot by the Chicago police with his hands up, and he was unarmed. And so talk to your Congress people or write letters about that, because I think that that would be an important way even to support people that are already here, and use places where you guys have a platform to give voices that don't have platforms there. But now I want to pass it back to Grandma, because she's the one that knows about this. I just wanted to add on to stuff you were saying. Te amo mucho, Grandma. I'm enjoying your talk.
Callie, ask your question.
Yeah, hi. I just want to thank you so much for your commentary and having a new perspective on this topic. And it's been so useful to me because I actually asked in the chat to talk about the 20 census, how the past administration specifically left out immigrants and people who built this country. And I'm writing my bat mitzvah speech on the 2020 census and how immigrants were excluded and the inequities. And I just have a question. This is just, I've been thinking this. Did you ever feel like going back to your home country? Like ever, and you stay in America, ever feel like you would go back?
I love my country, but I will never go back. I don't have a chance there. I don't have a chance. Being a woman of color in class, no chance. My dream coming true. For many years, I came into my American dream. I became a union organizer for many years. Yes, and that gave me some justice in my heart.
Thank you for your question, Callie. Oh, and if you would be willing to send me your bat mitzvah speech once you're done with it, I would love to see it. Grandma Tessa, thank you so much for sharing with us your story and your food and bringing us into your kitchen. Thank you so much for bringing us DJ Wildstyle, because I think that's one of your great gifts as well that you brought to this country. And I look forward to eating at your table one day in person.
Hopefully, yes. Let's do that.
Thank you.
I'll make some tacos for everybody.
I love it. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So speaking of first generation immigrants that can be of any job, I'd like to bring on Janu from Repair the World. Janu, thank you for joining us. And we left some space for you to tell us a few sound bites about your story and also what we can do to get more involved if we care about this issue.
Thank you, Abraham. And thank you everyone for having me. It's so special to be here, and I'm filled with such a feeling of pride hearing everything that has come up during this conversation. I was a person earlier in the call who wrote that they were from Jamaica. And I remember my mother trying to file paperwork for us when I was a young child, and it not coming through until I was 18 years old. So it was maybe at least 12 years before that paperwork came through. 12 years is a long time. A lot of people don't have 12 years. Immigration justice is a matter of life and death at times, and it is just incredible to hear the discourse that's happening on this call today. That said, as a representative of Repair the World, our thing is volunteering, our thing is action. So I'm going to use my few minutes and platform here to share with some of you things that you might be able to do to get involved, to act, right? And the number one thing, because as I said, Repair the World, our thing is volunteering, is to volunteer and share your skills. So many of you have gifts that you can offer that you might not even realize, right? And maybe you're not there yet. Maybe there are some things you can do, but who else in your family? Maybe a parent, aunt, uncle, someone in your surrounding network. Legal services, social work, needs for speaking another language, There's so much important work happening at our borders and elsewhere that are trying to process folks who are trying to make a better life for themselves. And volunteer work is desperately needed. So if you are able to speak another language, or you have a parent who is a lawyer, or a friend who is a social worker, ask, hey, what are you doing with your free time? Can you do some pro bono work potentially? This is an important issue to me, and I would love to give some of my time, and I would love you to give some of your time as well. Another thing that I would really encourage people to start doing is minding your language, right? So there are so many hurtful, offensive, and just pure wrong things and terminology that isn't really descriptive of folks trying to immigrate for a better life. And these words, when you speak them into existence, you speak them into power, and they can just, be nuggets in the back of your mind, in the back of other people's mind, and it almost turns the way that you perceive a certain situation. So when you hear terms like illegal, right? No human being is illegal. So I highly recommend you kind of erase words like that from your vocabulary. Be really careful about the things you say, and maybe invite other people who you hear saying those things to try to say things in a different way. Something that you've all done a little bit on this call today, and I encourage you to keep doing, is to learn someone's story, right? So some of you might be sitting there thinking, I don't really know anyone personally who's an immigrant, or who has an immigrant story. And I would really venture to say that you probably do without even knowing. And check around who is in your network. Who do you know who might be able to share a story that allows you to see something in a slightly different way? So much xenophobia comes from this fear of the unknown and a misunderstanding of other people and other cultures. And the more you are able to really understand someone from a human point of view, the more you're able to navigate the world in a way that really pursues justice. And the last thing is something that I think has come up on this call too: check with your reps. We talk about Congress and we hear these big headline laws that people are passing. Who can you write a letter to, right? Who can you click through to send an email to? Who can you make phone calls to? How can you mobilize your friends and your networks to also do those same things? And I'd also encourage you not just to look on the national level. The census was mentioned, right? There are so many, small hometown issues that come up, local school boards, for example, places where resources aren't being distributed. Check into what's happening literally where you live. And if there are any laws or ordinances that are anti-immigrant, think about what you can do to send someone a letter in your own neighborhood. So there is really so much. I've listed at the bottom of this slide, and I think this gets sent out later on, a few things you can Google and organizations you can look up to plug into work that's happening, and just get really set up in an easy way to do some volunteer and action. And I just want to really encourage you to holistically look at this in a way from understanding another human being, understanding the words that you put out into the world, and actually pursuing some action. Just because something is a law doesn't mean it is just or that it's right. And I think it is our obligation to lead from a place of what we think is just and what we think is right. And that sometimes includes changing some laws. So I highly encourage you to act, to get out there, to figure out what you can do and how you can plug in. And thank you all so much for being here and being party to this. And thank you to the organizers for having me.
Janu, thank you for sharing a little bit about your story as well as teaching us all today. It's always great to have Repair the World here as our partnership, and we feel blessed to have you here as our educator today. So thank you so much. We heard from some amazing people today, from DJ Wildstyle, from DJ Wildstyle's grandmother, Grandma Tessa, from Eliana Chasen, to Janu, and even Callie. Look, we're seeing teenagers who are speaking up. We even saw how beautifully DJ Wildstyle rebuked me and said, I know you're coming from a place of good intention, but you maybe didn't understand how it came across when you said this. Teenagers have amazing powers, and you could just speak up. Eliana said, I was a little nervous, but I reached out to people and they wanted me to get involved because they care about the issue and they love that I cared about this issue. Okay, you have beautiful gifts. You have amazing gifts that you have to share with the world, whether it's your ability to speak another language that you could help translate, your ability to organize your friends, your ability to collect items. I had a kid get their parent who was a lawyer to help defend kids who were in need of defense, who were seeking asylum in this country. So like I had a kid get the parent who was a lawyer to represent a kid, and a kid was able to stay in this country because of that teenager who got their parent involved. So don't underestimate your power and share those gifts with the world. It was great to be with you this afternoon. My name is Avram, and from all of us here at Tzedek America, have a great night.
Immigrants, we get the job done.
That indeed we do. All right.